Today, I'm excited to share with you my thoughts on the book, The Right to Be Cold by Sheila Watt-Cloutier. As someone who conducted PhD research with Indigenous communities in the Northwest Territories of Canada, this book had quite a profound impact on me, my work, and my journey over the last 6 years. Sheila Watt-Cloutier is a renowned Canadian Inuit activist, author, and political representative.
And we lived a very traditional life with my family, close-knit community, a small community where most people were still out in the outpost camps, but we were close to the Hudson's Bay Company post. We traveled only by dog team, hunting, fishing, gathering. And those are the memories of my childhood that has given me the foundation upon which I do this work internationally.
Born and raised in Nunavut, Quebec, she witnessed firsthand the rapid changes in the Arctic environment and the impact on Inuit communities. Watt-Cloutier has served as the elected chair of the Inuit Circumpolar Conference, now Council, and was nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize in 2007 for her work on climate change and human rights. Safe to say, Sheila Watt-Cloutier is a pretty big deal. In The Right to Be Cold, Watt-Cloutier shares her personal journey and advocacy work to combat the effects of climate change and environmental pollution on the Arctic and its inhabitants, particularly with Inuit communities. The book explores several key themes, arguing that climate change is not just an environmental issue, but also a human rights concern, as it threatens the Inuit way of life, culture, and traditions.
And it was like a magic, really, living in that way. But so many changes have happened in our world in just one lifetime, where most societies have taken about 350 years to adjust and adapt to this modern world. For us as Inuit, it has been in almost just one lifetime, or my mother's lifetime. And so it gives new meaning to the phrase coming from ice age to space age.
Watt-Cloutier introduces the concept of the right to be cold, which refers to the right of Inuit people to maintain their traditional way of life in the cold Arctic environment. She delves into the historical trauma faced by Inuit communities, including the impact of residential schools and how these experiences have eroded cultural identity and traditional knowledge, making it even more challenging for Inuit communities to adapt to rapidly changing climate.
Very few people know about these historical traumas that impact our daily lives in our communities. The forced relocations of families into the high Arctic in the name of sovereignty. Children being sent away very early in their lives to be raised by strangers far away from home, severed from culture, family, loved ones. I am one of those children. I was sent away at the age of 10, lost my language, had to gain it back.
The book provides powerful examples of how climate change and environmental issues directly impact Watt-Cloutier and the Inuit community she represents. She shares personal stories of the challenges her own family has faced, such as the loss of traditional hunting grounds due to thinning sea ice and the need to adapt to new unpredictable weather patterns. Watt-Cloutier also discusses the impact of melting permafrost on infrastructure and the increased vulnerability of communities to coastal erosion and flooding. So in addition to climate change, Watt-Cloutier highlights the threat of persistent organic pollutants, or POPs, to Inuit communities. POPs are toxic chemicals that accumulate in the Arctic food chain, posing significant health risks to Inuit people who rely on traditional food sources. Watt-Cloutier has been a vocal advocate for the regulation of POPs, working with international organizations such as the United Nations to push for stronger global treaties. Her efforts have been instrumental in the creation of the Stockholm Convention on Persistent Organic Pollutants, which is aimed to eliminate or restrict the production of the use of POPs worldwide. Throughout the book, Watt-Cloutier emphasizes the interconnectedness of environmental, social, and economic issues. Her expertise and leadership have made her a powerful voice for Indigenous rights and environmental justice on the global stage. And The Right to Be Cold serves as a potent call to action, urging readers to recognize the urgency of addressing climate change and its disproportionate impact on Indigenous communities, as climate change typically warms the North 4 to 5 times more than the global average. So when I first read The Right to Be Cold during my PhD research, it resonated with me deeply. Although I worked with Indigenous communities in the Northwest Territories, not specifically Inuit communities, the book provided valuable insights into the challenges faced by Northern Indigenous communities in the face of climate change and environmental degradation. The book helped me understand the cultural, spiritual, and economic significance of the land to Indigenous communities in the North. It shed light on issues such as the disruption of traditional practices, the impact on food security, and the erosion of cultural heritage as a result of changing climate. Watt-Cloutier's personal stories and advocacy work inspired me to center the voices and experiences of the communities I worked with and to advocate for their rights in the face of climate change.
And here we are, because the ice to us is not just mobility and transportation, but it is a very big part of our identity. Huge part of our identity. It is our life force. It is our highway that brings us out to the environment, where we get our organic food. The best food in the world. I'm biased, but it's the greatest food in the world. You've got to try it.
The Right to Be Cold taught me valuable lessons about the human dimensions of climate change and the importance of environmental justice. Watt-Cloutier's work underscores the urgent need to address the disproportionate impact of climate change and environmental pollution on Indigenous communities. The book also highlights the importance of Indigenous knowledge and leadership in the fight against climate change. Watt-Cloutier demonstrates how Indigenous peoples are not just victims of environmental degradation, but also powerful agents of change, bringing unique perspectives and solutions to the table that have been shaped over millennia of generational knowledge exchange. I highly recommend this book to anyone who's interested in the intersection of environmental advocacy, Indigenous rights, social justice, and the environment. It's a must-read for those seeking to understand the complex realities faced by communities on the front lines of climate change and the importance of centering Indigenous voices in the search for solution. The Right to Be Cold is a powerful and eye-opening book that sheds light on the human rights implications of climate change and the environmental pollution that comes with it. Sheila Watt-Cloutier's personal story and tireless advocacy work serve as an inspiration and a call to action for all of us to work more towards a sustainable and just future.
And that's the connection I want to make with you, is the trauma of our Aboriginal communities in this country, whether they be Inuit communities, First Nations communities, and the trauma that we inflict onto our planet are one of the same. And the solutions are one of the same.
I hope this video has piqued your interest in this incredible book. If you haven't read it yet, I highly encourage you to do so. It will undoubtedly change the way you think about the relationship between climate change, Indigenous rights, and environmental justice. And I'll leave a link in the description below where you can go and purchase the book. Thank you for watching, and let's continue to support Indigenous leaders like Sheila Watt-Cloutier in the fight for a better future for all in the face of ongoing climate change.
We are in this together. And together, we've got this. We've got this.